there's not another one.
It's you.
I'm gonna sit down. Can y'all hear me like this? Y'all hear me like this? I guess. Okay, this is an essay that I wrote from a book that I just gave out, and it's more like touching on my relationship to the process of writing. So because the position that you take in your craft, my personal problem has been integrity, and if I try to own the message. So whenever I try to own the message, it becomes a product of my ego, and it loses the life that I'm trying to medla, I'm trying to medla out from. So okay. It's called Artisan at Your Service. I start with kind of like an invocation. It's almost like a play. You know what I'm saying? It's setting up like the scene, and then it goes into the meat, and then it closes with the play of the scene. So the structure is like that. O patron saint of patrons, you have called me to your table once again. Beside filling out my coffers, I would like to ask the purpose of your commission, that it may mean more than money, that it may have significance more than significance. Before my due diligence, a prayer must be taken. Upon further reflection, I ask for proof of my mental constructs and whatever it is that moves me. Whatever these abstractions, may I better sculpt and service this writing. Artisan at your service, my Lord, if these prerequisites are met. I am not an artist or even a writer per se. These titles only serve as hindrances. They are impractical in that they tend to personify and objectify something that is very much alive, often robbing it of its essence with definition, mistaking it so frequently with meaning, robbing its essence with meaning. Yes, every artist is guilty of doing just that. Meaning as form and representation, movement and perspective, every word, every breath, all are merely grasping at vaporous apparitions in a swamp filled with misery and delight, wading our way through the mire and the fog with a quiet song to keep the monsters away, hoping to keep them at bay anyway. We have robbed ourselves of truth, an honest truth, abject terror for something beautiful to behold, to be held, to test the light of day, and to be pocketed away, but never spirited away. My essence has become a prostitute, how all inspiration is soon objectified, seemingly part of the setup, a neurochemical con job that is creation at large. My activity is busy with business and busyness. With the craftiest of tools and digital displays, I carve out pornography, vulgar, intimate, and honest, unabridged and unashamed, taking your attention as well as your breath away. Creativity is just a load seeking a victim. Whoever will listen and whoever will witness is something that yearns for release, a reproductive process, if you will, a cycling of cells, a culmination of sweat and experience. Positively charged yang energy seeking a cooler environment, a place with more space to settle and rest. Yet in the final act of its expression, it seems to abandon its essence, and in so doing becomes an object in the material world, deflated and uninterested. Many lovers can attest to this. Does it sacrifice itself willingly to the world, or is it forced upon the landscape? A flower plucked from the ether in myriad ways, to be displayed in a shoebox, or like a butterfly captured and placed in a mason jar. When the observer and the observed encroach upon each other's dream, within the same dream, a further division within reality, or rather, further partitions within the original confines of space and time. This essence is captured as a snapshot of the soul. Sometimes something like liquid acrylic floods the canvas. Other times it's just a low-res black and white Polaroid with coffee stains and stale cigarette smoke folded into the corners where once warm living ancestors embraced and took up precedence in another time and another place. Creation framed on the wall and looked upon in passing. The stars may witness all our activity in the same way as a casual glance in passing. Bodies in traffic, souls in transit, may we all leave this world laughing. That creative life force is a living force, as the name implies, not just a noun, but a verb. It is not entirely without individual effort that these bodies of work are assimilated. Mostly there is something akin to an intelligent flow that animates the artist. Perhaps craftsman is more fitting here. A state that appears as transient and solid simultaneously. A state or process that envelops and possesses his pen and chisel and brings itself into the world like immaculate conception. This flow, sometimes it's a trickle, other times it's a flood. The waters of creation fill my cup. A vessel with agency, a retainer, to grasp and facilitate a process that can be described as infinite potential housed in the finite. The life force bleeds from my pen. Everything with a beginning has an end until it begins anew, supposedly. Everything that possibly could be and does exist has numerous potential refinements to new and existing installations. Further categorization in practice removes reality from itself into further dimensions within dimensions. Dimensions modeled after the original installation, but artificial nonetheless. Abominations and anomalies litter the hallways of this finishing school. Even this essay is like the drawings of a toddler, busy scribbles on digital parchment, grasping for eternity. Some of these crumpled pages on the ground are pure brilliance. In my rush to my next class, I collect these pages from the floor. I keep them all and share my notes with everyone in class. Fuck extra credit, I already passed. In this busyness and blind faith, blasphemy is me, the practitioner. A living process in the form of flesh, blood, and bone, wandering through the corridors of a funeral home. This process I embody requires tools of insight, intuition, love, logic, and romance, and other sexy abstractions. Indeed, I am no artist at all. I am an artisan. I dig with my bare hands if need be through the sands of time, down the mine shaft of the universe into the deepest caverns of the abyss, that I may discover new frontiers, retrieve gold and jade, and return with bounty and good tidings of exotic places and strange encounters, paradises we all can find, with enough space for all to reside, an oasis in the desert called the universal mind. However, I must continue my pursuit of new terrain. I will circle back to share the treasure I found, but I must make haste and be on my way. My children, my brothers and sisters, the frontier awaits. Metaphor and allegory, symbols brought back from the frontier, representations of anomalous will, uniquely so. Metaphor acts as a vessel that encapsulates and represents a snapshot of the vast frontier. Piece by piece, how can one observer posit and model the whole thing without alluding to greater realities and grander frontiers? These allusions limit any fleshing out argument and are relatively pointless when attempting to describe a total picture of things. The totality surpasses the representation. The vastness pixelates the photograph. So the lens by which we see is most practically a metaphor. Therefore, metaphor grants us fractal displays and insight into totality without explicitly stating it as such and such ultimate reality. An underwater lens can capture the image of a fish as well as a snapshot of the entirety of the ocean. Comprehend nature as one continual becoming. View reality as one great happening. To identify oneself only as a witness and receptacle with agency. A vessel of will, whether we are free or not is irrelevant. We function with the whole as the whole. A pioneer and an artisan. What do you call someone lying on their back with arrows in their chest? You call them a pioneer. Let us not ask why or attempt to distill his motives from his actions. That is reason. In our folly is also found reason. The greatest and most useful reason to do anything is when we fail miserably. The more miserable the failure, the more the pendulum can swing in the opposite direction. No, the pioneer seeking gold in the wild, untamed West was on a journey. This journey required very little how, almost zero why, and nearly total will. And that will was a must. He must go, he must endeavor, he must find freedom and liberation at some untamed frontier. He finds himself so untamed and liberated by the journey. He must grind with the crude tools he has at his disposal, seemingly the crudest of tools, that of body and mind. Yet he employs them zealously as weapons and instruments of poetry and war, of beauty and savagery. Their function is a statement. These blades can chop food, cut words into flesh, and slice off limbs if need be. Multifunctional, how they are used is the statement. A craftsman, a samurai, a verbal wordsmith, assassin, what flows to parchment is something functional, not just something to take pleasure in. Pleasure is not guaranteed, although delight is a possible byproduct. Words are like a chisel upon the reader's mind. How the image of what I say depends on reading aloud, listening, and hearing what is said, both spoken and in text. Like running your fingers upon a marble sculpture, one feels the textures and subtleties in every curve. Words like acrylic paints and pastels color the canvas. I always wanted to be a painter. Maybe I am in a way. What is an artist anyway? What's in a name? What's in a name? At your service, my Lord, I can do almost anything you require of me. Before your commission, there is the matter of the feet. What will be is what must be. For gold and silver pennies I care not, only silver linings and golden memories, and maybe a penny for my dreams.